I want to start with the people who are just, getting started in business and entrepreneurship. When do you think someone should look for their first hire? Is it a VA? Is it a full-time employee? I just kind of want you to, let's go back and forth and kind of riff on that.
Yeah, so here's an easy way to learn if you need to outsource. If you're a business owner and if you start doing the thing you hate and then stop doing the thing you love, that's when you need to outsource. Like for me, as a marketer and as a copywriter, I love doing marketing work, research, studying about like new trends on social media, writing copy. I love that. But if you tell me, hey, Karla, we need to do our books and you need me to do bookkeeping, oh my God, no. I would rather hand wash some towels. I would rather hand wash a car than do bookkeeping. There's just some tasks I don't like doing, or building automations. I don't like it, just not my vibe. I know how to do it, but just not my vibe. So the moment that you feel like you have to stop doing the thing you love to do the thing you hate, there's someone else out there who's better than you and who loves doing it, and you should just outsource that.
And then what's the easiest way to get started with outsourcing and, finding people 1099 or contractors? Is it through I think one of my first people that I used a couple years back was phonline.com. It was like people in the Philippines that were looking for work. And it was, at the time, it was anywhere from like $6 to $12. And, you had to kind of vet a bunch of people yourself to make sure they're good. But what would be, step one for someone as they're looking to outsource, a job that they hate and they, can't do the job that they love anymore?
Yeah. So going to those websites and even like LinkedIn and Indeed, these are good websites. The thing is, it takes a lot of time because first of all, there are a lot of newbie virtual assistants out there that are probably not what you need. So that's another thing that one has to be really careful about. Like people use the term virtual assistant as a blanket term for hiring someone remotely, right? But when we go through like what they need, we realize that they actually need a project manager or a client success manager or a graphic designer or even like an ads, a meta ads analyst or something. So first thing is really to know what role you want to hire for. And this could be as easy as ChatGPT. You say, hey, ChatGPT, these are the tasks I need to do. What would be an appropriate role for this? So now we have AI to kind of like brainstorm with. And then once you have like a job description, you go to these sites and try to make your announcement and get applicants. But then again, the selection and the screening part takes a lot of time. Like for my team, it usually takes 50 to 60 hours to just land a good person. And so sometimes that includes, of course, like going through these resumes and really seeing what would be relevant to the position you're hiring for. And then trying to check the references. Did they actually do this? Did they actually work at these companies? And then you have to test if it's true. So for us in my company, we do what we call proctor testing, where we test their knowledge on the platform by giving them tasks and them sharing their screen while they do the task. Because, for example, you need a particular skill with a particular platform, like high level, for example. Anyone can say, I know how to do high level, but they actually don't. And they're just planning to like buy a Udemy course after they get the job. So one way to test that, and I've seen this happen, unfortunately, in some of our clients before they start talking to us, they had this bad experience. And so you have to do that. And then you have to interview them. And then you have to ask particular questions. And then you have to know the nuances of hiring in that country. So for example, in the Philippines, in Latin America, in Eastern Europe, wherever you need to outsource, there are good cities and bad cities for certain disciplines. There's universities that are better at hiring engineering roles, and then universities that are better at hiring communication roles. And last thing is calamities. So what's the weather like in that country? Do they get a lot of typhoons? What about earthquakes? What about power outages? So many considerations. And if you are not armed with this knowledge, it's really, really easy to waste time, waste money, and worst of all, land with the wrong person. And so it's just a bad experience altogether.
So it sounds like we should use you to outsource instead of us trying to figure it out.
Absolutely, because honestly, it's a nightmare. And with a company like us, like we provide a full satisfaction guarantee. Like even if we've done all of the work, if you're not happy with the candidates, we can keep hiring, we can keep looking, or you can request a full refund. What really matters to us is your experience, not like how much work we've put in it.
What are the top 3 questions that you asked during that interview process? I know it probably is dependent upon, what role you're trying to fill. But in general, is there like three questions that you're like, okay, we're gonna either get a green flag or a red flag based on the answer to these questions? Do you have like three of those?
Yeah, I love that question. So, a first good question and a common one would be like, why did you choose this path? There are certain people that are like, oh, I used to be a nurse and now I'm a graphic designer. So, like, oh, why did you choose that path? Right. So it's always really good to hear their story of why they chose that path. Or even if they had a straight path, like they always wanted to be an artist, they took up media arts or something in college and then they became a graphic designer. Okay, tell me, were you inspired by your parents? Was your dad like a painter? Or were both of your parents technical people and you were just inspired to be an artist? It's always good to hear these stories because you can find their internal motivation and you can find what makes them proud about their work. It will show the way they tell their story about what they do. And it will also show if they don't love what they do. If they're just like doing it out of necessity, you will see it. I've met people that are doing what they're doing out of necessity. And to be honest, there's nothing wrong with it. We all need to do what we need to do to survive, especially if you have kids. But if you are torn between two candidates, then that would be the clincher. You choose the one who genuinely loves what they do and is inspired by what they do versus the person who's just kind of doing it out of necessity. Number two question is asking like a behavioral type or a story question based on a problem that they solve. For example, you're hiring a project manager. I would say, okay, Jesse, you've had 3 years of experience as a project manager. Tell me about a time where everything that you planned went as you planned, except for the last minute. And there were a lot of last minute problems. What happened and how did you deal with that? So they will now tell a story. And then for these types of questions, you have to give them a little bit of leeway in terms of the story. It may not be in the exact company that you want to kind of find out. So for example, in that project management story I was telling you, they could be sharing a story about their wedding instead of a project, right? That went wrong. It will still apply because you will still see how they're solving problems. That's always a good question. Make them tell you a story about a time that they solved a problem in their industry and how they were able to like wield their expertise and use it. And then number three, I love this. Probably have heard this before, but the Peter Thiel question, which is, what is a truth that you believe in that most people will disagree with? So I love that because it shows you how they think and how they process their thoughts.